While therapists are often seen as superheroes, we know that they are in fact human and need rest just like anyone else. The healers need healing too. That's why we're hosting Camp Loveland, a wellness retreat exclusively for BIPOC therapists. The goal of Camp Loveland is to help prevent burnout among BIPOC therapists by providing them with a rejuvenating experience that is full of unapologetic joy. Can you make someone a happy camper by donating to Camp Loveland? Visit thelovelandfoundation.org/donate. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Unfolding, presented by the Loveland Foundation. I'm your host, Rachel Keener, and today we're joined by someone who has actually changed my life, Dasha Kennedy, known as the Broke Black Girl and author of Moving Beyond Broke, The Power of Perseverance in Personal Finance. So welcome, Dasha.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I know before we get into it, first off, congratulations on the book. Oh my goodness, it's been a week since it's been released?
Yes, it's been a week, and this week has been amazing. Just seeing something that I worked so hard on out into the world, it has been so good.
Yes. Well, as I said, this book, I finished it literally yesterday, and I was you finish something, you're like, oh, whoa, I think something just happened to me. I think so. For me personally, I'm fangirling right now, but this year, my intention, my focus has been to get right with my finances.
Mhm.
And it's such a scary thing. For me, I've been very avoidant of finances, and you talk about how your relationship with money is exactly that. It's a relationship, and it only works if you confront it, if you're accountable, if you're facing it. But no one ever tells you how. No one ever tells you how to do this. And so I was listening to your book, and you're literally talking about what's a bank? What is a bank? And how to find the right banking for you, and bank account, and just the education that you provided is so needed, and it creates such such a space of growth and accessibility, and just financial freedom, which ties into mental health, which ties into joy, which we'll all get into. But I'm getting carried away right now. But I just want to say thank you so much, because just reading that, I never felt seen in finance books. I never felt like someone was talking to me directly, and just seeing your words on this page light up, just really oh, I could do this. And I have done it. Literally last night, I was like, okay, let me look at my student loans. Let me look at my car loan. And I was able to negotiate things lower. I was able to pay some things off. And I was like, wow, I've been putting this off for years. Years. So yes, thank you. But just give me a little background behind how this book came to life, how you were able to just create such a beautiful vessel for just understanding and educating.
So for me, when I think about how the book came to life, I love telling this story so much because it's really the root of what the book is. I have a very interesting introduction into personal finance. My mom, she was a teen mom when I was born. So was my father. So you got to think, two teenagers, they were not even of the age to legally work. So you can do the math there. So two teenagers, here I come, their parents, and they're figuring things out. So by the time I was a teenager, I had already developed so many unhealthy habits with money, so many unhealthy perspectives around money. And then I got pregnant at 19. And so at 19, my mom came to me and she was like, look, you don't know nothing about taking care of no baby. She was like, you need to quit your job, give up your apartment, and move back in with me. So at 19, hearing this was the worst thing anybody could have said to me. I didn't want to give up my money. I didn't want to give up my independence, which was my apartment. So I didn't understand why my mom was saying that. But she told me, I need to teach you how to be a mother. Take some time off. I will help you with expenses. You can save your money, but let's try to get you on a strong footing before you bring a child into this world. And so one day I tweeted about that. I have no shame in my story. I love talking about, my mom because that's something we could talk about later too, because I love showing how generational wealth doesn't always look like transferring money. My mom had nothing but a room and a heart to give me, and that transcended where I was financially. So I always shared this story and I tweeted about it, and it went viral and it landed on the desk of an editor who reached out to me like, "Hey, have you ever thought about writing a book?" And
Oh,
that's
wow.
later 2 years later, here is moving beyond broke. Yes.
It's just so amazing how, like, you talk about the impact of generational wealth and, like, what it means, and you even talk about this in your book about, like, instead of generational wealth, like, creating a living legacy, and
Yes.
I never heard that phrase before, and I'm just like, "Oh, because like, you think generational wealth, like, someone dies, someone then passed down something, like, in the house or inheritance or something that I personally can't relate to," you know what I'm saying? Like, you just ha need to be able to but, like, a living legacy, like you said, your mom having the heart and, like, the kindness of just being like, "Hey, I wanna teach you how to be a mother so you could save money," like, that's creating wealth right there, like, creating, like, ease for you and, like, how that's able to be reflected as, like, to your children, to for your children's children, like, that's how the true generational, like, legacy and, like, wealth is created, and just hearing
Yes.
how, like, that process of just that one event, like, and not even that one event, but, like, the domino effects of all those
Yes.
events led to this book, it's just so inspiring and so beautiful, but I want to talk more about how you were saying, like, this idea of, like, a village, and, like, using your village to create wealth and create access. Can you speak a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so when I think of using your village, normally when people hear village, they will think like mother and child or mother and grandparent. I think the village is all hands on deck.
Yeah.
So for an example, in my family, I have an aunt, we're relatively close. And so her children are my cousins, but because I'm a little bit older than them, I kind of look at them like nieces and nephews. So the way that I look at this is when one of her kids went off to college, I thought like, okay, how can I help out my cousin, which also helps out my aunt so that she can help out her other kids. So when my cousin went to college, I just took on his grocery bill. It was $100 a month, sending him food for groceries. So now he can go to college, focus on his studies. He doesn't have to immediately go out there and get a job, which we know most people that come from our communities, when they go to college, they're by themselves, they're having to work. So they're managing work and school, and then school starts suffering and then they drop out. We see this all the time. So I thought, what's something that I can do in my village to help alleviate just a little bit? So it's
Mhm.
$100. Now he has food. That's one less bill that my aunt has to worry about while she can now tend to her other children. So this is me playing a small part in my village, but ultimately a huge impact. So when I think about the village, I think of cousins, aunts, nieces, nephews, even neighbors. Even
Yeah.
neighbors sometimes like it goes as far as that. So I think of it as just being an all hands on deck. And while it may not always be transferring money, like for me with my cousin, that was $100. But I also remember before my cousin went to college, he used to babysit sometimes for me for free, which
Mhm.
let me pick up some extra hours for overtime. So his investment to me, he babysit for free, which helps me make more money. I didn't have money to give him at the time, his effort, his kindness, whatever, we all are hands on deck, which it may not always transfer money, but it's creating opportunities for us to push ourselves forward.
Mhm. Yes. See, hearing you say that reminds me of this topic you talk about, like, thinking small and dreaming
Yes,
big, and I never, like, thought of it that way. I feel like everyone's like, "Oh, you need to start thinking big, stop thinking small." And it's like and, like, it hurt, but also there is such power in small, like, movements and small motions, and just, like, the fact that, like, it tied back into, like, how your cousin showed up for you in that way for you to be able to go to work and get more hours, and then now it's returned in a way that, like, you're able to feed it, do groceries and, like, support
yes,
that way. So, like, these small actions have such lasting big impacts that
yes,
people don't always realize, especially people in our community, or, like, you feel like you see things on social media, you see things on TV, you see things on, like, just movies like lavish living, and you're just like, "Oh, I have to get to that level. I have to, like, that's how wealth is created." But it's like wealth is truly created through, like, these small moments that, like, you could,
yes,
like, start accumulating and start building. And it just really shaped my mindset on money in a way that, like, didn't make it feel so scary. You refer to it as a boogeyman a lot, and, like,
yes,
it didn't seem like and, like, money is actually the leading cause of anxiety for many people, and especially now in today's age where, like, you even talk about this inflation or, like, having, like, impact on, like, what's happening in, like, the world and how has that impacts the economy, and, like, you have to be able to, like, prepare for that, but, like, just the idea of money itself causes anxiety and like people choose to avoid it. And like I know I'm guilty of it. So like how do you personally like approach a financial wellness like wellness in a way that prioritizes mental health? Like how are you able to connect the two?
So for me, and this is something that I talked a lot about in the book as well. I focus on flexibility, not perfection.
Mm,
Anything to me when it comes to how I spend my money on a day-to-day basis, I am not tied to anything in a way where it's like, oh, okay, if I need to be flexible, I can change that. I
yeah.
can adjust that. And going into managing my money with that type of mentality, it helps me so much mentally because when things do have to shift or change, I'm not caught off guard. I'm not distraught. I don't feel like everything is falling apart. I like to keep it simple and personal because at the end of this, I am the number one person that is going to be affected by this, as well as the people that are dependent on me, my children. But me first, if I don't figure out how to work this in a way that makes sense for me. So when I think about how I am personally approaching financial wellness in a way that it prioritizes my mental health, I am very big on flexibility, not perfection.
Flexibility. No,
Yes.
definitely. For someone who's, like, trying to begin their healing relationship with money, like, what is, like, a first step that they could take to just, like, get their foot in the door, see, like, what's going on? Like, it's very scary, as we mentioned before, but, like, what's, like, an easy, like, transition into, like, becoming more financially free?
So the first thing that I would say is you have to stop blaming yourself for your past money mistakes. Like start fresh. Whatever you did in the past, it happened. Maybe you messed up your credit, maybe you maxed out your credit cards, maybe you defaulted on a loan, maybe you had a repossession and eviction, whatever it may be, for whatever happened at that time of your life when you were unable to fulfill whatever financial obligation it was, it has happened and it's over. You have to forgive yourself for your past financial mistakes. And I think that's the first thing that's most important because now you need the opportunities to start fresh. You need a clean slate so that you can look at money in a way that is not already coming in with a negative stigma for something that you did years ago when you probably didn't know any better. I always encourage people to write down what money means to you. Is it fear? Is it freedom? Is it stress? And try to figure out why. Why do you define money this way? Why do you look at it, this way? And when I think of something tangible that a person can do, start tracking your money without judgment.
Yeah.
Let's first focus on awareness. So you may start tracking your money. This is usually the scariest thing for most people because when you start digging into those bank statements and those credit card statements, you're probably going to see I'm spending too much money on food. I'm shopping too much. I'm paying bills late. And you're going to start to come down to yourself and beat yourself down. And then what you going to do? You're going to close the computer
Yeah.
no more. You're going to be over it. And so that's a whole other month that we just wasted. So when we looking at it, let put judgment out. Let's first focus on awareness because that becomes our saving grace. And then just speaking kinder to yourself about the money decisions. It's hard to make decisions when you don't know, what you are doing. When I look back on some of the things that I was doing, I always say, Daisha, I don't know how you took care of these kids. I don't know what I was just doing stuff. We were,
Anyway.
making it through. Now that I know better, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see how easy it was for me back then to walk into certain financial things because I was just simply trying to survive because that's all that I knew how to do. So now that I know more, I have more access to more resources, I can be kinder to myself. So I think that's very important. No matter what you have or where you're starting at, be kind to yourself because this is your first time figuring this out for most people.
Y'all see why sex has changed my life? Like, no, I think that's such a key thing about, like, financial freedom and, like, joy is, like, letting go of that shame, letting go of that guilt, like, we only know what we know, and I literally was guilty of this literally up to this morning and just like, "Damn, I wish I did something better. I wish I, like, saved that money back in, like, 2 years ago, I kept that account open," and just, like, all this,
Mhm.
like, regret I have with money and creating, like, that unhealthy relationship with it and that, like, pours into unhealthy relationship with other things and just, like, it's this domino effect. So just like creating this like financial freedom beyond just like banking and beyond just like numbers. It's like a holistic practice. It's like accepting yourself, accepting where you're at and just deciding to move forward because we can't go back in the past. So we can't like change what happened, but we can control the now and control the present. So I guess that just leads me to like what does like financial freedom mean to you? Like beyond just numbers and like a bank account?
When I think about what financial freedom means to me beyond numbers in the bank account, the very first thing that comes to mind is options,
Options.
choices, having the choice or option to say yes or no without guilt, without any shame, having room to rest, breathe, and just enjoy life without bills hovering over, my
Mhm.
head. Like I can be out in the moment and enjoying myself without wondering every time I swipe my card, oh, is this the light bill money? Oh, is this, the rent money? So when I think of it just beyond numbers in the bank account, it just looks like peace. Peace of mind knowing that I can take care of things, peace of mind to make decisions without fear or pressure. To me, it's just like the weight that is lifted off
Mhm.
of me mentally. And this is like one of the reasons why I always push people to look at money beyond what's in the account. Like it's so easy to get caught up on social media when we're seeing millionaire this, six figure this, um, $50,000 invested this, et cetera, et cetera. And all we're focusing on is the large numbers. But the reality of it is most people may not get there, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't feel some type of relief or they shouldn't feel some type of joy while they're on the way, there. So for me, I never try to measure financial freedom just by the numbers. It's always attached to a feeling.
Yeah.
And you may wake up tomorrow and things may not all be all together financially, but you may start to feel a little different. To me, that's freedom to me.
Mm. Yes, and it all ties back into, like, what you were saying, just joy, and, like, I
Yes.
love that you said options. Options is my mom's favorite word, and she always told me and my sisters, like, "Make sure you have options, make sure you have options," and
Mhm.
we think that, like and you can talk about this, like, we think there's so many things that could give us options, whether it be, like, going to school and getting a degree or getting, like, this high-paying job or, like but it's kind of a bit more simplified than that because like, not everyone needs to go have a degree to, like, have a financially successful life. Not everyone needs to have this super high-paying job. Like, one thing you talked about was, like, your journey with, like, school and pursuing higher education, but also, like, how you were able to create, like, healthy habits, like, while working at McDonald's and, like, how that was, like, something more impactful than sometimes working at, like, a job where you made more money and had to deal with, like, lifestyle inflation, which I did not know was a thing, but I'm like, "Oh, that explains what I'm going through right now." Like, this idea of, like, you making more and spending more, and then you're kind of realize, like, what's the disconnect? But you kinda just think that, "Oh, I could, like, afford this, I can afford this." But, like,
Mhm.
it goes back to that awareness and that accountability of, like, "Hey, where am I at? What can I afford? I don't need to be following people who say, 'I need to buy this right now. I need to go on this trip right now. I need to do things that, like, are for me and fulfilling my own cup.'" But I think part of that comes with setting, like, boundaries with my finances and, like, creating, like and not in a restrictive sense of the way, but just, like, an accountability way. So, like, how do you, like, recommend setting financial boundaries with, like, either your family or friends or even, like, most likely yourself?
So for me, I am the oldest sibling, the oldest daughter. And so if
Bless
you
your
know
heart.
uh, if you know anything about oldest daughters, like we learn very early how to be vocal, how to be vocal. So for me, it's just being clear and honest. I can't do that right now. That's a
Yeah.
complete sentence. No, I would know right now. It really doesn't fit in my budget. That's a complete sentence. That's not me being, mean or disconnected. That's just a complete sentence, and that's me just being honest about what my boundaries is. But because I'm so comfortable with setting those boundaries and saying no and letting no be a complete sentence, I am also extremely generous. So a way that I protect, myself and just my relationship with my family is I plan for generosity, but I do not let it break my budget. So I have a
Mm.
fund, which is like my family fund, and I think I talked about this a little bit in the book. I put money into this account every month. So that kind of is like my max on what I'm willing to be generous with my family. So it doesn't matter who asks for, who pulls from that fund. Once it's tapped, it's tapped. So then after that, every answer, is no. Now this isn't something I like broadcast to my family, like, hey, the money is there if anyone needs it, but it's there in case someone does reaches out to me for something because I do love my family. I do love being there for them any way that I can. But I plan for that generosity so that I can say yes sometimes more than no without it breaking my budget. And a motto that I live by is I can't help you and hurt me. So
Ooh.
to make sure I don't do that, I plan for those things, in advance. I make sure, that I'm not overextending myself to please my family financially because I know eventually that will lead to resentment. And again, I love my family. We have such a great relationship. So I'm okay with having boundaries and setting rules so that I can not only protect myself and my finances, but also honor our relationship. And that's been, pretty good. And I also think just to be a little straightforward.
Yeah.
If I say I can't do it, then I can't do it. And,
I got it. Like, sorry.
and, you know, that's
That's all I got for your part. It is what it is. Like,
answer. So that's like the other part to it, because I know sometimes it's hard when you are trying to set those boundaries, especially depending on like the family dynamic. Sometimes you may need to give an elaborate response because maybe that's how your family operates. Sometimes no is just no, and then sometimes I can't do it, and that's just what it is. But I do think that it's very good to have those boundaries, especially if you are a family that operates like a village. You don't want to be the only one that's getting pulled on and drained, because it's going to lead to resentment and disconnect. So it's good to have those boundaries in place, not just for you and your finances, but for the family as a whole.
yeah, I think, like you said, it's just like we keep going back to this idea of just honesty and
Yes.
transparency with ourselves first, and then with other people second. And just like you said, no is a complete sentence, but also applying I love the idea that you have like a family fund, just like you're planning
Yeah.
for generosity. You're planning like being so forward, like looking and thinking about like, okay, I want to do these trips. I want to have these sinking funds.
Yep.
I want to be able to do that. And just like creating space to do that, which creates like freedom, like we said, and it's creating options. Like, so if people do come and they need something, it's like, okay, I have an option for you, but this is an option. Like, this isn't always going to be here for you
Yep.
to like always come back to. But it's just really like, it's great to see that things are applied in such tangible ways that everyone could apply in their own way. And like
Hmm.
the number of money isn't attached to it. Um, and you talked a lot about budgeting, and like I'm just curious, are there any like underrated or overlooked financial tools that you think like when it comes to budgeting that people just aren't using or aren't really like tapping into?
Yeah. So I get a lot of laughs for this, but right now we live in a land of technology, so it's so many
Yeah.
different budgeting apps. I do not use budgeting apps. So
Oh.
no shade to budgeting apps, but I'm gonna explain why. When I was first starting out, I was trying a bunch of different budgeting apps, and it was doing all of the work, for me. But because it was doing all of the work for me, all of the math, I didn't have a real connection to those numbers because somebody else was doing the heavy lifting. So for me, I am still a person who manually budgets. I use an Excel spreadsheet, because
Oh.
for me it's like when I look at those numbers once, when I'm looking at them on my statements, then I look at them again when I'm putting them on my budget, then I look at them again when I'm having to go through my budget. To me, it becomes so deeply embedded, and I become so comfortable and familiar with my numbers. I know why certain things are happening. I understand why something is off. Not to say that budgeting apps don't work, because of course we know that they do. But for me, and the way that my mind works when it comes to building a relationship with what I have going on with my finances, I need to be manually involved. Like, I will automate and outsource a ton of things, but when it comes to this, I think doing things manually, at least for a little while in the beginning when you're first starting off, I think that's so underrated because there's so many apps. The apps is usually the easiest option, but I love doing things manually.
No, there's something so powerful about like just pen to paper, like getting it from your brain to your head to the paper and just using it in that way and like really getting in tune with, like, what you're spending, like, every time you swipe a card, like, like, "Okay, like, I'm gonna write this down, I'm gonna use this, I'm
Mhm.
gonna make sure that, like, I know how much of my money is going out that way," and, like, as someone who uses budgeting apps, I felt that disconnect that you were speaking of. I
Mhm.
felt that, like, "Oh, like, okay, they're telling me that, like, I'm spending this much a month." I'm like, "Okay, cool," but it doesn't, like it's not registering with
Yes.
me, it's not, like, clicking in my head. To me, it just looks like I'm looking at some random number on the screen. I'm just like,
Yes.
"Okay," but, like, that doesn't feel like it's my money, and I think that's the issue sometimes I run into is it's like, this is my money. This is
Yeah.
yeah, and, like, this is, like, how am I gonna use this money to better myself, better my situation, and, like, I'm starting to be more, like for so long, I just been like, "Okay, let me just get to, like, the next paycheck, and then I'll just, like, cover whatever I spent on," or, like, "Oh, something comes up, swipe it, don't even think about how much it costs," and then I'm like, "Oh, why is my account looking this way? And why is this like it happens? Like it's like, oh, like who did it? It's me. I'm
Yes.
the culprit, and just having a moment to just sit down and and like look at like what I'm spending. Like I think you're able to like create like a relationship where you're like it's just like you know what it is and you know
Yes.
what you have, you know what you don't have, and you know what you're working towards. And you said like you like one thing I really loved was you and your sister have these like like trips you do annually every year, and you
Yeah.
save for that. And like that's something that like as someone who has two sisters, like I'm trying to think about like as we grow up, how can we stay connected and do different things? And like this idea of just like planning for the fun, planning for like what we want, planning for and also creating a budget, creating finances to do that. And like it doesn't have to be like big amounts at a time. I think that's the main thing I like took away is just like these small actions could really have such a big impact. And I
Yeah.
didn't think that. I was like, I always got so overwhelmed thinking like, oh, I have to do something big in order to like make a big impact. I have to do something that is like just like so transcendent. It's just like, no, let me just sit down and like write down what I have and like how can I save like $5 here, $20 here, and let's start creating a fund. So I'm just like and all like that, which like brings me to my next question. Just like you yes, you wrote this amazing book, and I can't wait to see the, like, success that comes from it and everything else, but, like, you also create a platform of educating women, Black women in particular, on how to become financially free, on how to be, like, creating these budgeting challenges, like, I wanna hear more about that and just like your yeah, like, how did it come to mind, like, for you to, like, not only because like, a lot of times when people have money, they wanna hoard it or gatekeep
Mhm.
or wanna, like, make sure, like, "Oh, this is mine, this is for me," like, figure it out yourselves, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, but, like, you are here every day because I follow you. You're sharing, like, "Okay, guys, like, are we checking in? How are we saving money today? How are we doing this?" Like, and it's just I hope you understand the impact you have and, like, how many lives you're changing by just truly getting people right with money, especially in spaces where money was never meant for us. Like, it was like, you talk about that in your book, like, the history of money and, like, how, like, we get, like, the, like, mistrust of banks in Black communities,
Mhm.
mistrust of, like, women, like, having, like, unaccess to, like, money and banking, like, always having to have a man to, like, co-sign them, like, I just wanted you to talk more about your platform, like, education and, like, how you were able to cultivate that and empower people.
Yes, I think highlighting some of the things that we face, especially Black women, when it comes to money, was so important in validating our experience with money. It was something that I really struggled with when I first started out on my journey, which is what led me to create the platform because I felt that when I was going into certain spaces, seeking personal finance advice or just someone to make me feel like I wasn't making this up, in my head. I didn't feel like I was always met with being seen as a Black woman. I think those were just always off the table and they only focused on numbers. And it was like, okay, well, yeah, you may do something different because you probably have a different upbringing, more resources, et cetera, et cetera. But I need you to see me as a Black woman and the how I got here, not just what I'm doing right now. And when I talk about money, I always make sure I validate our experience, the history of our experience with money, because some of these perspectives and theories that we have about money, we didn't just make this up. We didn't just decide that there were certain things that we were not going to do with our money or without our money. It was times when we just couldn't do anything because we legally could not
Could
do.
not.
And I think it's so important to not let those conversations fall to the wayside. And I always bring them up because they are extremely important, especially when I think of it's only been about what 50 or so years that we've been able to do things like get credit cards. My mom is probably like 53. So that makes me think it's like I'm one generation removed from, the women in my family having to depend on other people simply to survive financially. So present day, when I'm talking about money, I'm not leaving those facts off the table. So it was so important for me to build a platform that validated our experience with money as Black women. The other side of that was when I would see platforms that would cover personal finance, it was always presented in a way that everyone was starting at the same starting point, which in most cases is the middle. So I always felt like I was getting skipped over. I wasn't being seen or heard because I wasn't starting there. So when you're coming off and you're hot, like invest $1,000 a month, to me, that's like, where is that coming from? Like, what? And then when I look at the numbers and I'm seeing the average monthly income for Black women is around $3,000. So it's like, so where does investing $1,000 a month come in when that's the average? And no one really was having those conversations. And I get it. They're not the most exciting. They're not the most fun. They're probably not the most engaging when you can have conversations about millionaires and six-figure salaries. But that
Mhm.
left an entire demographic of women out of the personal finance conversations. I did not think that was fair. I did not think that was okay. And so I wanted to have those conversations, even if people didn't like them, because trust me, in the beginning, people did not like me using the word broke. And like in my name, they did not like it. They wanted me to drop it because they felt like, well, I don't want to claim broke. But I felt like, well, it don't matter if you claim it or not, because that's what we is.
It's called same thing.
Yeah, so it's like, so for me, it was like, I'm not going to be hiding in the shadows because I'm ashamed somebody is going to see that I'm broke and I don't have money, when that is my reality. I'm going to get in front of it. I'm going to say, this is what it is. This is my starting point. I want to be seen. I want to be heard, and I want to be validated. Who's coming with me? That was my mentality when I started the Broke Black Girl platform, and it has blossomed into something so beautiful. And it was solely because I wanted Black women to realize that we can make smart choices when it comes to money. We just need to be in safe spaces that validate our experience with money and what that means for us navigating finances present day. And I wanted people to be able to redefine wealth on their own terms.
Beautiful. I think that's what really like drew me to you and to your platform, was like this idea of being truly seen for the first time, as I said
Mhm.
earlier. Like, you mentioned like just like we're one generation before like having access to credit cards, access to banking. And it's interesting because I am so proud of like how we are able to show up, so proud of how we're able to really like get to this point. And like claiming broke or claiming is like this is our history, this is where we're at. And so like, the fact that we were able to come from broke to like having financial freedom and able to do that, and we have to do it our own way. Like, your book was literally titled, like, The Power of Perseverance, the power of, like, perseverance, like, that word of pushing through, like, Black women have always gotten the short end of the stick, always, but somehow most educated population, like, really holding the economy down, holding these elections trying to hold these elections down, like, really just, like, the backbone of, like, America, and then this way of, like, we persevere, and, like, we have to persevere with our finances, we have to persevere with how we show up for ourselves, how we show up for our community, and, like, this idea of just, like, bringing everyone up with us and, like, bringing ourselves up too, and I think it's just such a beautiful healing thing, like, and people often talk about, like, ancestors' wildest dreams and, like, just, like even, like, I'm thinking about, like, my grandmother who, like,
Mhm.
you mentioned, like, the women in our family, the matriarchs of our family are the ones who hold all the finances, like, who the
Yes.
ones who do all the budgeting, the ones who are, like, truly, like, raising these children, and it's just, like, never giving them enough credit that they deserve, like, at all, like, the power of, like, just, like, these moms, like, really just taking care of families, taking care of their kids, taking care of, like, their parents, like, it's so multi-generational, and, like,
Yes.
we talk about, like and I think that's why you were talking so much about generational wealth versus a living legacy because, like, we don't have the privilege of having generational wealth
Yes.
because, like you said, we were one generation removed from having, like, access to a bank, access to all those things. So, like, this living legacy idea is like, because I'm so grateful for my mom. She was, like, the first person in her person in her family to go to college and, like, get a job and, like, be able to do all these amazing things, and she's, like, a living legacy, and, like, she's poured that into us and, like, how we wanna show up for ourselves, and, like, we're learning things that she didn't know about and, like, sharing that with her, and, like, it's, like, this back and forth. So I
Mhm.
in your book, you mentioned how you and your mom were kinda learning together, but she was just, like, a few steps ahead of you, and the fact that she was able to, like, bring you up with her and you were also to, like, educate with her as well, like, this idea of, like, learning together is so, so beautiful and so powerful. So, again, just, like, thank you for that and, like, just, like, the impact of, like, a village. So, yeah, I'm just
Mm.
beyond grateful. I'm, like, telling everybody,
Thank
"Please
you.
read the book." Like, it's changing.
Yeah, it was so important for me to position personal finance conversations in a way that made us feel seen.
Yeah.
Just being in the industry and in the space for so long, I would see, content. I would see, good content. It was, well engaged, but I always feel like something was just missing. To me, it was the human experience. Like anybody can throw some numbers together and make a piece of content, engaging and exciting, and people can have aspirations for it. But for me, it's like, but what happens to the people that are living in reality? Like they may not ever get, to that point, which is why I talk a lot about saving small amounts, focusing on like $1,000. Those things are not exciting. And for most people, they may not even be life changing. But for most people, that is life changing. And those are the people that I don't want to leave behind. Those are the people that I do, want to talk to, because that's what I needed when I was first starting out. I needed someone to validate me and only being able to save $100.
Yeah.
My first month starting out, I needed somebody to make me feel like that was worthy of celebrating, because for me, where I was, it was worthy of celebrating. And so it was just so important for me in the book to just be honest with my experience while also making sure other people were seen and heard as well.
Yes, exactly. And like also creating a safe space for curiosity, a safe space for learning, and just like how you were able to like truly like break down the basics of what it is to budget, what it is to bank, what it is to like create like a financial like package for yourself. Like
Mhm.
there's so many things that like I never thought to ask because I thought I just like assumed that like, oh, everyone should know this. So I can't ask that question. I can't be the one in the room saying, oh, I don't know about this. I don't know about investing. I don't know about 401k. And there's so much like it's just assumed that people know. And you think you talk about like how people like a lot of other like platforms talk about like just start like we all start the same spot, but we
Yeah,
don't.
you
Like
don't.
having that education, having that access and understanding of like here's what the basics are, and then like we like are able to build off that. I think that's like so powerful and it creates so much accessibility and inclusion to people because everyone deserves to be financially free.
Yes.
Like no one needs to be worried about when their next meal is coming if they're able to like cover their rent, if they're able to cover their utilities. Like that creates so much stress on our bodies and on our mind, and it pours into other aspects of us. If we're always waking up stressed about money or when the next check is coming, like it's so toxic to our well-being. And like I just want the best
Mhm.
for I want the best for us. I want us to know a life of ease and a life of joy. So yeah. But with that, like what's like your piece of like advice or wisdom to someone who's listening who's just like starting their own journey of financial freedom and like embracing joy? Like how would you like
I would say when it comes to embracing joy, especially like on this journey, is accepting that your money story does not have to look like anyone else's. So while someone else you may think is light years ahead of you, and here you are, you're only being able to save $5 the first week, maybe $15 the next week. That is good. You need to celebrate that. You need to find joy in that. You need to find happiness in that, because that was more than probably what you were able to do the week before that. Your money story doesn't have to be as fast as someone else. It doesn't have to be as elaborate as someone else to still be valid, because it's yours. It's yours, and you want to be, intentional. That's why I think it's so important when you are starting out on this journey is to define what this means for you, what this looks like for you. What does financial freedom even look like for you? Because it can look different for everyone. For some people, it may be a big house, a bunch of cars in a driveway, X amount of dollars in the bank account. And for someone else, it can look very different. It can look like a small house, maybe don't even have, a car, but all of the bills are on auto pay. Like it can look different for different people, and that is okay. So when I think of finding joy in this journey, it is knowing like you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. You can literally make this look like whatever you want it to look like for you.
Yes, I love that. On a personal level, where are you finding joy right now? Like, what's been bringing you joy this week or on this done today? Like, just I'm just curious. I'm just nosy.
Right now, this is a really good question. Right now, I'm in a season of romanticizing every single part of my life. Like, no matter how small it is, I want warm lights, candles lit. I have a record player playing me some music.
Yes.
I have flowers everywhere. Like, no matter how small it is, I want every single moment of my life to feel like love. So I have been super intentional about that, and that has been bringing me so much joy. Like finding joy in tasks that normally would have been a bit much for me. Like I'm gonna tell you this, I hate washing I hate washing dishes.
Oh,
I
bro.
but, like, romanticizing the task of, like, washing dishes and stacking my dishwasher. Maybe I have some music playing, a candle lit, but I'm happy about those things because it's like I have the dishes in this kitchen. I feed my family. I'm able to make these meals. We have food on the table, and that brings me so much joy than looking at it like, "Oh, the dishes piled up. I don't wanna wash this," et cetera, et cetera. So I've just been so intentional about just romanticizing every moving piece of my life because when I think about my experience just as a woman, as a Black woman, all that we have to face and endure on a daily basis, I want to be intentional about bringing love, joy, and light into my life. So I've been super focused on that.
Yes. And can I just say it's showing because, like, when you came on camera, I was like, "Wow, she looks so lovely, like, she's glowing." And, like, if you guys are listening
Today.
but, like, if you guys are listening and don't see her, like, hair flowing, cheek popped, the skin glowing, nails look amazing, like, and I could see that love that you're pouring into your life coming back to you. So I'm just
Oh,
such
thank
a
you.
lovely person, lovely being. Like, this book, like, created something in me that, like, I didn't know was possible. It's created this sense of, like, "Oh, I can do this," and I never felt like I could do it, and, like, I just am just so internally grateful for you. You have no
Oh, that
idea.
makes me so
So,
happy.
if
That makes
people
me so happy to hear. It really does because the book was a labor of love. So to see it now out in the world and get some of the feedback that I've been getting back, it makes me so happy because
Yeah.
it's what I wanted to feel when I first started out. So to know that I play a part, in that just it makes me so happy. I'm so happy for you.
No, you did that. So thank you. Like, truly, like, I am I got meetings with bankers now. I'm trying to check out different credit unions. Like, I just like, "Oh, okay, I could do this." Like, there's a game plan set, and, like, I feel really empowered, and I'm just excited because I feel like part of, like, romanticizing life is, like, creating those options for yourself. So, before I let you go, please, please plug where people can follow you, support you,
Yeah.
buy the book, y'all, please, like, seriously.
Yeah, so you can find me at The Broke Black Girl across all social media platforms. The book is available for purchase now. You
Yeah.
can go to thebrokeblackgirl.com/book, BOOK, to go get it directly from my website where it has all of the options available. I do know for a while it was on sale for about 48% off at one location. So definitely buy the book, support me, follow me, and I am such DM friendly. So if you have any questions, send me a DM.
Yeah, send her a DM. She's the best. Like, truly, y'all, like, this book is so impactful. Like, if you're worried about finances, you're worried about where to start, how to, like, just move beyond being broke, title the book. Like, like, it's truly, like, this is for you. This is for everyone. Please, like, we got support. So just thank you so much, Daisha. Like, I adore working with you. I adore collaborating with you, and I hope we can do it again in the future.
Yeah.
Imma ping you on the DM later about something else, but yes, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Have a lovely day. Thank you all for joining us for a very special episode of The Unfolding, presented by the Loveland Foundation. At the Loveland Foundation, we are committed to showing up for communities of color in unique and powerful ways, with a particular focus on Black women and girls. Our resources and initiatives are collaborative, and they prioritize opportunity, access, validation, and healing. Since our founding, the Therapy Fund has provided financial support for therapy to over 13,000 Black women, girls, and non-binary individuals across the country. This year, our goal is to provide free therapy to at least 6,000 more. If you'd like to join us and invest in generational change, visit our website at thelovelandfoundation.org for ways to give. To stay updated on new episodes and any future programming, follow us on Instagram and Meta, or check out our website at thelovelandfoundation.org.